Hi everyone, this is Bearbell from Bearbell Productions. And if you are a pattern designer like me, you probably already use mock-up images to showcase your product with your patterns on them. And one of the situations where I use product mock-ups to showcase my patterns is in my portfolio that I send to companies that I want to work with. This is a great way to make that creative director or purchase assistant see and visualize how my patterns would look on the different products. So here is my portfolio, and like you can see, I have images, this spread here with images with different types of products from different industries. Let's see if I can find something else. And also this. I have considered making one portfolio book for each industry where I would like to work. Like one book for wallpaper only, then I could optimize and just showing the patterns that I think will be working well with wallpaper. And then I could only have mock-ups with wallpaper. So that would probably be more efficient sending the portfolio to a wallpaper company. But I think there might be some upsides with showing patterns on different products too, even though to a wallpaper creative director. But I might do this in the future, we'll see. It's a lot of work, but I have 4 of these books, so I could probably just change the inside of them. The second use for mock-ups that I have is to test the design I'm working on, because I think it's nice to be able to get a feel for it and if it's done or not, or just if it needs some adjustments. And I don't always do that when I create my patterns, especially not when I'm designing from my own heart's desire. But when I have a commission pattern though, it's nice to test it in this way before presenting it to the client. Which also gets me to the third usage or third situation when I use mockups, which is when I present a pattern to a client. And this makes it so much easier for them to view the pattern and to fall in love with it right away. Because if you only present the pattern as a swatch, or in a square image like this, there's a risk that they won't see the end result, but only the technical aspects like the composition or details in the motifs. And a mock-up of their product with a pattern design is a great way to show them that the design will work and take care of their needs. The fourth area where I use mock-ups is on my web page. And of course, other digital platforms. It's a way to share my work to all of you and to the public in a more dynamic way. When I create mockups, I sometimes go to a digital market to see if I can find a suitable image to buy. Like this one. This page is called Unsplash, or here you have Creative Market. But the mock-up images that you buy from these markets are used by a lot of other people and designers. And I think that they sort of all look the same a little bit and not really connecting with me and my brand. So most of the times I prefer to create my own mock-ups. Creating your own mock-ups is not difficult at all. It's actually quite fun and easy as a project itself. You need some equipment though and some props, but that's not very difficult to find if you look around in your house. And when you have done a couple of photo shoots and created a bunch of mock-ups of your own, you will have an image bank full of resources that you can pull from, and also perhaps try to sell them on your website for other designers to use. So to create your own mock-ups, all you need is a room or a place that will suit your product needs. You will need some products or items that you want to depict, and make sure that they are in light use or preferably white, but with no patterns on them. They have to be solid. And you'll need some other props as well for decor and creating a nice atmosphere and feeling. And you also need good lighting and some sort of camera. And for lighting, the best light is natural daylight. Just wait for a sunny day and go for it. If you are in a rainy and cloudy part of the world, you could, of course, get some photo lamps. I have a couple of photo lamps that I use quite a lot because here in dark Sweden you don't have that much daylight during the winters, for example. And for a camera, I use quite a basic DSLR digital camera, or a lot of times I just use my iPhone. You can create your own mockups in different ways, and I have done it by dedicating a whole day for a wedding photo shoot once, and another time for gift wrap, and a third time I did table settings. Or you can just roam your house and see what you can find. I mean, if you have a white or a light wall with a nice painting, you could use that spot for wallpaper mock-up perhaps. For this video cover image and to do some Easter inspired Instagram posts where I could show my patterns in a fun way, I wanted to do a special photo shoot. And we're gonna use one of the photos that I did during this photo shoot as an example where I show you how I create my mock-ups. Okay, so now I have a bunch of photos that I'm pleased with that I think I can use, and I have opened them up in Photoshop, and I think I'm gonna use this one. But before I start applying the pattern to this image, I need to clean it up a bit, or actually I need to edit to enhance the image, because as you can see it's a bit dark and dusky, and this is more or less what any photograph will look like. Now I'm going to play around with brightness and contrast, and you can also add some more warmth or do other editing if you'd like, but I'm just going to make it quick and easy this time. So with this little icon here, I click this and I get this menu where I'll select brightness and contrast, and this little section here appears. So I'll pull this little handle, and as you can see, it brightens up really nice. Don't overdo it, because then all shadows and shades will disappear, and you want to keep some of it, and I'll show you why later. So I think this level here is quite okay, and then I'll just go and check if I can do something with the contrast. So this looks a bit superficial, I think. So I think the original contrast setting was pretty okay. Yeah, I'll keep that. And as you can see here on the level section, this editing effect created a new layer. And I want to merge these two. So I'll do that by selecting them both, holding down Shift and clicking on both of them. And then with Command E, they merge into one layer. Okay, so now it's time to pick up my pattern that I want to use. And I'm going to use this napkin as my mock-up surface. So now I go to Illustrator, where I have collected some pattern swatches that I want to try. And I think for the napkin, I'm gonna use this one. So I'll just select it and copy by pressing Command C on my keyboard. And then I go back to Photoshop and paste it with Command V. And this little message box shows up, and you want to have the Smart Object option selected, and then click OK. And now the pattern appears, and it looks a bit weird now, but don't worry, it will be alright when we have implemented the image. So now you can play with scale and rotation a little bit. If you come with your cursor up to the corner like this, the cursor will turn into a double-sided bent arrow, and then you can drag it like this. And then also when you hover over the corner like this, you can click and pull it to scale it down or up. And if you press Shift, you will keep the proportions. So I think it needs to be a bit more smaller scale, like this sort of. And now I need to turn it a little bit, rotate it a little bit, just to make sure that I will cover the whole napkin. Okay, there, I think that will work fine. And now I double click on the image. And it has become its own layer here in the Tools panel, as you can see. Okay, so now we need to make sure that this pattern will only be on the white napkin. So start by deselecting the eye icon to make the pattern invisible, because now we're gonna trace with a special selecting tool the borders of the napkin. And the tool I'm gonna use is the magnetic lasso tool. It looks like a lasso with a magnet on top of it. So select that one, and I'm going to zoom in. And this tool, if you haven't already used it, it's really cool because you just have to click on one of the corners or somewhere at the border and then just go follow the border like this without even having to click. You can do that once in a while, like in corners or sharp curves, just to make sure that it will stick. And then just follow the border until the beginning. And then when you come back to the beginning, the tool, the little cursor will get this little circle, as you can see. And then you just click. And now the white napkin is selected. And now we're going to create a vector mask, and we do that by clicking this rectangle with a black dot in it. And as you can see, now the layer has this vector mask, and now we want to bring back our pattern by selecting the eye again. And as you can see, now the pattern is only within the area that I selected with the lasso tool. But it doesn't look very realistic. It looks flat and just two-dimensional. Now go to this menu here where it says normal. Click the arrow and go down to multiply. And now the napkin layer will shine through the pattern layer. That will bring out the shades of the napkin and make it look more realistic. Here is how you create a mock-up. But sometimes you will have more complex surfaces that you want to fill with a pattern. Like if I would want to fill this tablecloth with a pattern. And I will show you how to do that. First, I'm gonna need to have some kind of pattern for the tablecloth. So I go back to my Illustrator document and let's see. For the tablecloth, I think I want something that's not too busy. So I guess I'm just gonna use this one here. So I'll copy it and go back to Photoshop and then paste it. And click OK as long as the smart object is selected. Okay, so now I have to resize it a bit and scale it up so it will cover the whole image there, and double click, and then to hide the pattern so I can see what I want to select, I click the eye. Remember, I have my magnetic lasso, and now I have to start tracing with this one the border of the image. And don't worry if it won't follow the borders, because I will show you how to fix this. So just roughly this time, I'm gonna just follow the border of this little bowl here. Here's almost the whole image is selected now, right? But I don't want the pattern to cover the plate. So I have to somehow select the plate too and make sure that it's only this area that is selected. Now I can't select another area inside an already selected area, but I can do it with a little trick. So I go up to select in the menu and click inverse. Because now what's selected now is sort of just the things that are not the tablecloth, so to speak. So now I just have to select the plate as well, but I want to keep the selection of the tablecloth. So while I trace this with the magnetic tool, I press Shift on my keyboard. Many of you probably already are familiar with how to use Photoshop, but I'm also addressing all newbies with Photoshop, so I hope you can follow along. Alright, so now I have selected like these little bowls here and the flowers and these corners and the plate. But I want to select the tablecloth. So I go back to Select and Inverse again. And now what is selected is the most part of the tablecloth. And now I have to create that vector mask by clicking the rectangle with the black dot inside. And then I can see here in this little window here that it's the tablecloth that is created into a mask. And then I click the eye to see what it looks like, and it looks just really fake. So I go to this little setting here, click multiply, and the image below will shine through. But I had some imperfections that I have to fix, like the border here doesn't have the tablecloth applied to it, and also probably some here, and there are some things that I can fix. And this is where the magic comes in. I select the brush tool, and then I can magically paint the places that didn't get the pattern with the brush, like this fork here. And also along the edges, they always seem to not get selected all the way out. And sometimes you will get places where the pattern shouldn't be, like here. You can see on the knife, you can see that the pattern has appeared on top of the knife, and I don't want that. And then I can toggle between painting and taking away some areas of this pattern layer by pressing X on my keyboard. I now, as you can see here, I switch, and this square here becomes dark, which means that this is the foreground color now. And in this case, it means that I can then just take away the pattern. And then I can just go over and see if I find some other imperfections, perhaps over there and on the fork a little bit. And there are probably some more spots where I can just go over the image and see what I need to adjust a little bit. Alright, but I think that looks good. So now I have a mock-up image with my pattern on the tablecloth and on the napkin. So now I didn't have to print some fabric with my pattern and spend money on that. And I didn't have to go to some kind of napkin manufacturer and have like a whole bunch produced, because those manufacturers only take orders with big volumes, right? So now I can show what my pattern will look like on these products without actually having to produce in real life, which is great. And now save your image, and I usually save them as JPEGs. And you have a ready-to-use mock-up for your portfolio or your website or social media posts or anywhere where you want to show your work. Okay, so that's it for this time, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and that you now feel inspired to create your own mock-ups. Until next time!